Want to understand real American English and sound more confident in just 10 minutes a day with almost no extra effort? Good. Then don't do what most people do. Click a video, watch 30 seconds, get distracted, and pretend you studied. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Welcome to Ear Candy English, where we make English feel natural, not painful. And if you're smart, or at least tired of struggling, you'll hit like, subscribe to Ear Candy English, and share this with someone you care about. Because the truth is simple. If you don't practice, you don't improve. And if you don't listen to real English, you'll keep losing in real conversations. Here's what this episode is about: improving your listening and speaking by training your ear with real-life English, stories, simple phrases, and repetition that actually works. You want to speak clearly? Great. Then stop collecting random vocabulary like it's Pokemon. Words alone don't save you in a fast conversation. Phrases do. Rhythm does. Pronunciation does. And this is exactly why people freeze when a barista says something basic like, "What can I get you?" or "For here or to go." It's not because you're bad at English, it's because you keep learning English like it's a museum. Look, don't touch. And then you wonder why real life feels like a slap in the face. So here's the deal. If you leave this episode early, you're choosing the hard way. You're choosing more awkward silences, more smiling and nodding when you don't understand, more missed details at work, more stress when someone speaks fast, and more moments where you know the words in your head, but they come out wrong. That's the cost. And yes, it's unfair, because you might be working hard, but if your practice is messy, your results will be messy. In this podcast, we keep it simple. We use real situations, we repeat the phrases, and we make your brain get used to how English actually sounds in the United States: clear, casual, and fast when people are busy. So do yourself a favor. Stay with me. Don't bail halfway and then complain that you have no time. This takes 10 to 15 minutes, not 10 to 15 hours. Put your phone down, take a breath, and commit to the full episode, because the good stuff always shows up after the intro. And if you're the type who wants confidence without pressure, you're in the right place. Ear Candy English. Like, subscribe, share it with someone who keeps saying, "I understand English, but I can't speak." And next time, don't just listen, do the work. All right, listen up. This part is going to sting a little, but only because it's true. And if you're still here, good. That already puts you ahead of a lot of people who quit too early and then complain that English is hard. This is part 2, and this is where we talk about listening. Yes, listening. The thing everyone says is important, but almost nobody does properly. Welcome back to Ear Candy English, and if you haven't liked, subscribed, or shared this channel yet, that's fine, but don't act surprised later when your English still sounds like it's stuck in a classroom from 10 years ago. Let's be honest, most English learners say they listen to English every day, but what they really mean is this: they play something in the background while scrolling on their phone, half thinking about dinner, work, or their next excuse. That's not listening, that's noise. And noise doesn't help you when a real person talks to you at normal speed, and your brain freezes like an old laptop. You want to understand native speakers? Then stop lying to yourself about how you practice. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you can't understand English in real life, it's not because people speak too fast, it's because your ears are lazy. And yes, ears can be lazy. You trained them that way. You trained them with subtitles in your own language. You trained them by pausing every sentence. You trained them by translating instead of letting the sound hit your brain. And now you're shocked that real conversations feel like chaos. That's on you. But the good news is you can fix it. Listening is not about understanding 100%. If you're waiting for perfect understanding, congratulations, you'll wait forever. Real English is messy. People cut words, they change speed, they swallow sounds, they interrupt each other. And if your practice only includes slow, clean teacher English, you are setting yourself up to fail in real life. That's like training for a marathon by walking to the fridge. Don't be surprised when your legs give up after 1 mile. So what should you do instead? Simple. Listen every day, but listen smart. 10 to 15 minutes is enough. Yes, minutes, not hours, but only if your attention is actually there. Put your phone face down, no scrolling, no texting, just listen. Podcasts like this one, short stories, real conversations. And no, you don't need to understand everything. If you understand 50%, you're doing great. If you understand 30%, even better, because that means your brain is working. Here's something most people don't want to hear. Struggling while listening is a good sign. It means your brain is stretching. If listening feels too easy, you're bored. If it feels impossible, you're overwhelmed. You want the middle, slightly uncomfortable, like lifting a weight that's heavy but not stupidly heavy. That's where progress lives. Now let's talk about real life. Imagine you walk into a coffee shop in the US. The barista looks at you and says, "What can I get you?" Not, "Hello, sir, what would you like to order today?" No, just, "What can I get you?" If your listening practice is weak, your brain panics. Too fast, too casual, too real. And suddenly you forget how to order coffee, something you've done your entire life. That's embarrassing and completely avoidable. Or imagine a coworker says, "Let's touch base later," and you're standing there thinking, "Touch what?" This isn't a vocabulary problem, it's a listening in context problem. You learned words, not usage. You memorized, but you didn't absorb. And English doesn't care how many word lists you finished. Here's a simple rule. Listen to how English is used, not how it is explained. When you hear a phrase again and again, grab a bite, wrap things up, that'll be $5.50, your brain starts to recognize it as one unit, not 5 separate words, one meaning, one sound. That's how native speakers hear English, and until you train your ears this way, you'll always feel one step behind. Now, let's talk about shadowing, because this is where most people get lazy or scared. Shadowing means you repeat what you hear, out loud, immediately. No pausing, no translating, no overthinking. And yes, you will sound bad at first. That's the point. If you're waiting to sound good before you speak, you'll never speak. 5 minutes a day. That's it. 5. If you don't have 5 minutes, you don't have a time problem, you have a priority problem. When you shadow, you're not just practicing speaking, you're training your ears, your mouth, and your brain to work together. You're learning rhythm, stress, flow, things textbooks don't teach. And the best part? This works while you walk, clean, commute, or exercise. You don't need a desk, you don't need a teacher, you just need consistency and, yes, discipline. And let me be very clear here. If you skip this part because it feels uncomfortable, you are choosing slow progress. You are choosing confusion in meetings. You are choosing missed jokes, missed details, missed chances to connect. You're choosing to stay quiet when you actually have something to say. And later, when you say, "I understand English, but I can't speak," remember this moment. This is where you decided not to do the uncomfortable work. Listening well changes everything. When your listening improves, your speaking improves automatically. You steal patterns, you copy tone, you stop translating. Words come out faster because they don't have to travel through your native language first. That's not magic, that's training. So here's your reality check. English will never improve because you want it. It improves because you show up daily, even when you're tired, even when you don't feel confident, even when your brain complains. 10 minutes a day, real listening, real repetition, real attention. That's it. If you apply this to your life, your commute, your coffee break, your evening walk, you will improve. Slowly, quietly, but clearly. And one day you'll realize something strange. People speak English to you, and you don't panic. You just answer, naturally. That's the goal. And if you're serious about it, you're exactly where you need to be. Right here with Ear Candy English. All right. Let's move on to part 4. And yes, this is the part where a lot of people quietly fail, then pretend they don't know why. We're talking about thinking and speaking in English. And before you roll your eyes and say, "I already know this," let me stop you right there. If you actually did this, you wouldn't be stuck translating in your head like a broken Google Translate app. So don't lie to yourself. Welcome back to Ear Candy English. And if you're still here, good. That means you're at least willing to hear the truth instead of protecting your comfort zone. Here's the problem. You say you want to speak English fluently, but every time you open your mouth, your brain first runs back to your native language, has a full meeting there, argues with itself, panics, and only then sends a sentence to your mouth. By that time, the conversation is already gone. The other person has moved on, and you're standing there thinking, "I knew how to say that, just too late." That's not bad luck, that's bad habits. Thinking in English is not some advanced skill for talented learners. It's a basic survival skill, and if you skip it, everything else stays slow. Your speaking stays slow, your confidence stays low, and you keep telling people, "I understand English, I just can't speak." No, you can speak, you just trained your brain the wrong way. Let's be clear. Thinking in English does not mean having deep philosophical thoughts about life in perfect grammar. Relax. It means simple, boring, everyday thoughts, the kind you already have all day long, just in English. And before you say that's hard, ask yourself this: is it harder than freezing every time someone talks to you? Is it harder than feeling stupid when you actually aren't? Exactly. Here's how real people do this. You wake up, instead of thinking in your language, think, "It's morning, I'm tired, I need coffee." That's it. No poetry, no grammar rules, just reality. Next, your inner voice. You already talk to yourself all day. Don't act like you don't. You complain, you plan, you replay conversations in your head. The only problem is you do it in the wrong language. Switch it. Not all of it, just pieces. When you're making coffee, "I need caffeine." When you're late, "I'm running behind." When you're tired, "I'm exhausted." Simple sentences, real-life sentences. If you wait until you know enough English to do this, you'll be waiting forever. Now let's talk about speaking out loud in daily life, because this is where most people chicken out. You don't need a native speaker. You don't need a classroom. You need a mouth and a little courage. Talk while you're driving. Talk while you're cooking. Talk while you're walking for 10 minutes around the block. Describe what you see. Traffic is bad. This street is busy. It's about 2 miles to the store. No one is judging you. And if someone does, that's their problem, not your progress. Here's another thing people love to avoid: writing. "I don't know what to write." Yes, you do. Your life is not that mysterious. Write 3 sentences a day. Not a novel. 3 sentences. "Today I worked 8 hours. I felt tired. I watched a show." That's it. 5 minutes. If you can text nonsense to friends, you can write 3 sentences in English. Stop pretending this is hard. It's just unfamiliar. And let me say something important here. Using English in daily life means accepting imperfection. You will say things wrong. You will sound awkward. Good. That's proof you're actually using the language. Silence feels safe, but it teaches you nothing. Mistakes teach you fast. Now let's talk about listening, but not the lazy kind, where English plays in the background and you mentally check out. I mean active listening. Podcasts, videos, short clips, 10 to 15 minutes, while walking half a mile, while doing dishes. But here's the rule. Pick 1 sentence and repeat it, out loud. Copy the rhythm. Copy the tone. Don't translate, don't analyze, just repeat. That's how your mouth learns English, not your grandma book. And please, stop saying, "I don't live in an English-speaking country." That excuse expired about 15 years ago. English is everywhere. On your phone, on YouTube, on Netflix, on social media. If English isn't in your daily life, it's because you didn't invite it in. Let me give you a real-life example. Ordering coffee. You've heard "for here" or "to go" 1,000 times in videos, but when it happens in real life, you freeze. Why? Because you practiced English like a test, not like a habit. If you had used English daily, even alone, that phrase would slide right out of your mouth. "To go, please." 2 seconds, no panic. Or small talk. Someone asks, "How was your weekend?" This is not a trick question, and yet people panic like it's an exam. If you live a little in English, your answer is ready. Pretty relaxed, just stayed home. That's it, no drama. Now, here's the part people don't like to hear. If you don't use English daily, consistently, casually, you're choosing to stay uncomfortable. You're choosing hesitation. You're choosing that awkward smile when you don't understand something simple. And then you blame confidence. Confidence is not missing. Practice is missing. You don't need motivation. You need integration. English should sit next to your morning coffee, your commute, your to-do list, not locked away in study time. When English becomes part of your routine, it stops feeling scary. It becomes normal, and normal is powerful.
So here's your challenge. No excuses. Today, think 5 sentences in English. Say 3 sentences out loud. Write 3 sentences before bed. That's it. Less than 10 minutes. If you won't even do that, then be honest and say you like the idea of English more than the reality of learning it. But if you do it, if you actually live a little in English, things change fast. Not in a year, in weeks. Conversations feel lighter, words come faster, and you stop feeling like English is watching you fail. That's the difference between learners who move forward and learners who stay stuck watching videos forever. Choose wisely and stick with Ear Candy English. We're not here to babysit you. We're here to get you fluent. All right, now we're in part 5, and this is the part where people usually start squirming in their chairs because it talks about practice that actually exposes you, not studying, not watching, not saving videos for later. This part is about using English with other humans. And yes, I know, that's exactly what most of you avoid like it's a dentist appointment. You say you want fluency, but the moment English requires interaction, suddenly you're not ready. Spoiler alert, you'll never feel ready. You start ready after you begin, not before. Let's be clear, this is Ear Candy English. If you're still listening, good. Hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who keeps saying, I understand English, but only when it's slow. That sentence alone tells me everything I need to know about their habits. Here's the uncomfortable truth. English lives in interaction. You can listen all day. You can repeat after podcasts. You can know 5,000 words. But if you never use English with people, even imperfectly, you're training yourself to stay silent. And silence is a habit, a strong one. Let's talk about real human interaction, starting small, because most of you jump straight to panic scenarios. You imagine job interviews, presentations, or arguing with natives. Relax, that's not where this starts. It starts with low-risk conversation, the kind that doesn't matter, the kind you're already doing every day, just not in English. Small talk. Yes, that thing you think is pointless. How was your weekend? Busy day today. The weather's crazy. You dismiss it because it feels shallow. But guess what? Small talk is the gym warm-up of language. It's how people build rhythm, confidence, and flow. And if you can't handle small talk, deeper conversation will eat you alive. Here's what most learners do wrong. They try to answer perfectly. They think every sentence needs to be impressive. Wrong. Small talk is about ease, not intelligence. When someone asks, how was your weekend? The correct response is not a TED Talk. It's something like, pretty quiet, just relaxed. That's it. Then you throw it back. How about you? Congratulations, you're now in a conversation. No grammar panic, no vocabulary crisis. Now let's talk about group settings, because this is where confidence really collapses. Meetings, lunch tables, online group chats. You sit there understanding 70% of what's said, saying nothing, and then later complain you don't get speaking practice. Of course you don't. You opted out. Every time you stay silent, you reinforce the habit of being invisible. You don't need to dominate conversations. You need to enter them. One sentence is enough. I agree. That makes sense. I'm not sure about that. Simple, useful, human. The goal is not to sound smart. The goal is to be present. Now let's talk about asking questions, because this is where learners could improve instantly and refuse to. You don't understand something? Ask. Not later, not in your head. Ask in the moment. Sorry, what does that mean? Can you say that again? These are not signs of weakness. They're signs of engagement. Native speakers respect that. Silence makes people assume you're not interested. Asking questions makes you part of the room. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but I'm shy. Fine, be shy. Shy people can still speak. Shy doesn't mean mute. Shy just means you start with fewer words. That's allowed. What's not allowed, if you want progress, is hiding behind shyness for 5 years. Let's move to online interaction, because this excuse needs to die. I don't have people to practice with. Yes, you do. You just don't want to feel awkward. Online groups, comment sections, voice messages, language exchange apps. You don't need deep conversations. Start with one-sentence replies. That's interesting. I had the same experience. You don't even need to be original. You just need to participate. Here's a powerful habit almost no one uses: voice messages. Text is safe. Voice is uncomfortable. That's why voice works. Send a 30-second voice message in English about your day, about what you ate, about how tired you are. You'll hate how you sound at first. Good. That means you're hearing reality, not fantasy. After 2 weeks, your voice changes, your rhythm improves, your fear drops. Magic? No, exposure. Now let's talk about mistakes, because you're obsessed with avoiding them. You think mistakes make you look stupid. Here's the reality. Avoiding mistakes makes you invisible, and invisible people don't become fluent. Mistakes are how language adjusts itself in your brain. Every time someone corrects you, or you notice something sounded wrong, you recalibrate. That's learning. Perfection is not the goal. Communication is. Let me give you a common real-life scenario. You're ordering food. The cashier asks something fast. You don't catch it, and instead of freezing and smiling like a confused mannequin, you say, "Sorry, could you repeat that?" That one sentence saves you from panic, embarrassment, and guessing. And guess what? You'll use it forever. Or meetings. Someone says, "Let's wrap this up." You don't know what it means, but instead of zoning out, you watch body language, tone, context. People start closing laptops. The energy shifts. You learn without translating. That's how fluency actually grows, by connecting meaning to situations, not definitions. Now here's the part people don't like to hear. If you don't avoid interaction, it's not because English is hard, it's because ego is loud. You don't want to sound less intelligent than you are in your native language. Fair, but language learners all go through this. The ones who progress accept
All right, this is part 7, and if you've made it this far, congratulations. Most people quit way earlier, then complain that their English never improves. Yeah, no surprise there. This part is about daily action, and honestly, this is where most learners completely mess things up. Not because it's hard, but because it's boring, uncomfortable, and requires consistency. And before you get defensive, yes, I'm talking to you, welcome back to Ear Candy English. If you haven't liked this episode, subscribed to Ear Candy English, or shared it with someone who keeps saying, "I understand English but can't speak," then you're already wasting a golden opportunity. And yes, missing the rest of this episode means staying stuck exactly where you are. Let's get real. You say you want fluent English. You say you want confidence. You say you want to understand movies, meetings, travel conversations, and jokes. But your daily actions? Zero. Or worse, random. One day you study for an hour, then nothing for a week. That's not learning. That's lying to yourself. Here's the truth no one likes to hear. English improves through boring daily habits, not motivation. Motivation is loud and dramatic. Habits are quiet and effective. And if you're waiting to feel ready or have more time, congratulations again, you'll never start. Let's talk about what daily practice actually looks like in real life, not fantasy student life, real adult life. Busy mornings, long work days, low energy. If you can scroll your phone for 20 minutes, you can practice English for 10. Don't argue with that. It's math. Start with listening, not studying. Listening. Podcasts, short videos, real conversations. 10 to 15 minutes a day. That's it. While walking half a mile, while washing dishes, while driving. If English only happens when you sit at a desk, it will never become natural. English has to sneak into your life, not demand attention like homework. Now here's where people mess up again. They listen passively and expect magic. No, listening is step 1. Step 2 is using your mouth. I know, scary. You don't like your accent, you feel stupid, you think you sound wrong. Guess what? Every fluent speaker sounded stupid at some point. You're not special, you're just early. Repeat sentences out loud. Shadow the speaker. Quietly if you want. In your car, in your room. Whisper if you must. 5 minutes of speaking every day beats 1 perfect hour once a month. Your mouth needs training, not courage speeches. Now let's talk about thinking in English, because this is where progress speeds up fast. Stop translating full sentences in your head. That habit is killing your fluency. Start with tiny thoughts. When you wake up, I'm tired. When you're hungry, I need food. When you're annoyed, this is annoying. Simple, clear, real.
These thoughts happen anyway, just switch the language. You don't need deep philosophy, you need connection. English thought connected directly to meaning, not filtered through your native language every time like a bad internet connection. Next mistake, people wait to use English with others. Why are you waiting? Talk to yourself. Describe what you're doing. I'm making coffee. I'm checking email. I'm late again. This isn't childish. This is training. Athletes don't wait for game day to move their bodies. Now let's talk about writing, because yes, writing helps speaking, but don't write essays. Write like a human. 3 sentences a day. That's it. Today was busy. I drank 2 cups of coffee. I'm tired but satisfied. 5 minutes. If you can text, you can do this. And don't aim for perfect grammar. Aim for clarity. Native speakers don't walk around correcting themselves mentally every second. They communicate. You should too. Another mistake people avoid, recording themselves. They hate their voice. They cringe. Good. That discomfort is feedback. Record 1 minute at the end of the day. Talk about anything. Your day, your plan, your frustration. Listen back once. Notice patterns. You'll hear improvement faster than you expect. Or you'll hear excuses in your head. Either way, you learn. Now let's hit a big one. Using English socially. You don't need deep conversations. Start small. How was your weekend? Busy but good. What about you? That's it. Stop trying to be impressive. English is not a performance. It's a tool. People think fluency means sounding smart. No, fluency means sounding comfortable. Comfortable people use simple sentences. They don't rush, they don't panic, they don't freeze when they miss a word. They keep going. And yes, you will misunderstand things. Good, that means you're actually using English. Ask for clarification. Sorry, what does that mean? This is not weakness, this is intelligence. Pretending to understand is what makes you look lost later. Let's talk about excuses again, because they're sneaky. I don't live in an English-speaking country. Irrelevant. Your phone speaks English, the internet speaks English, your favorite shows speak English. Geography is not your problem. Avoidance is. I'm too busy. You're not too busy to eat, scroll, or sleep. English doesn't need hours. It needs daily contact. 10 minutes a day is over an hour a week. That adds up faster than your motivation speeches. I'm shy. Everyone is shy in a second language. Confidence comes after action, not before. You don't wait to feel confident to practice. You practice until confidence shows up. Now here's the cost of skipping this stage. You stay stuck in passive understanding. You recognize words but can't respond. You understand after conversations end. You replay moments in your head thinking, I should have said. That gap is painful and unnecessary. The people who break through aren't smarter, they're more consistent. They do the boring things. They repeat. They listen again. They speak badly on purpose. They stop protecting their ego and start using the language. So, if you're still listening, good. That means you're not running from the truth. Like this episode, subscribe to Ear Candy English, and share it with someone who keeps saying they'll start next week. And remember this. English doesn't change your life because it's perfect. It changes your life because you actually use it. All right, this is part 8, and if you're still here, good. That already puts you ahead of about 80% of people who click, listen for 2 minutes, then disappear, and later complain that English is too hard. Spoiler alert, it's not too hard. You're just not doing what actually works. Welcome back to Ear Candy English, and yes, before we go any further, if you haven't liked this episode, subscribed to Ear Candy English, or shared it with that one friend who keeps whining about their English but never practices, then you're already missing the point. Skipping this part means you stay exactly where you are. Same excuses, same frustration, same broken confidence. Now let's talk about part 8, because this is where things get uncomfortable. This part is about responsibility, not grammar, not vocabulary lists, responsibility. And most learners hate this word because it means you can't blame anyone else anymore. Not your teacher, not your country, not your job, not your age. Here's the truth. You already know more English than you think. Yes, you. You understand podcasts like this, you recognize common phrases, you know basic sentence patterns, but you don't trust yourself, and that lack of trust is killing your progress faster than bad pronunciation ever could. You hesitate, you overthink, you wait for the perfect sentence. Guess what happens while you're waiting? The conversation moves on, and then you tell yourself, see, I'm bad at English. No, you're bad at deciding to speak. Let me be very clear. Real life does not give you subtitles. It does not pause for you to think. People speak fast, interrupt, change topics, and expect you to jump in. If you're waiting to feel ready, you're already behind. Fluency is not built in safe, quiet moments. It's built in messy ones. Let's talk about fear. Fear of sounding stupid, fear of mistakes, fear of accents, fear of being judged. That fear feels huge in your head, but in real life, most people don't care. They're thinking about lunch, their phone, their next meeting. They're not analyzing your grammar like an English teacher with a red pen. And even if someone notices a mistake, so what? Mistakes are not proof you're bad. They're proof you're using the language. Silence is what keeps you weak. Now here's where people really sabotage themselves. They practice English only when it feels comfortable. Newsflash, growth does not happen in comfort. Comfort is Netflix with subtitles. Comfort is re-watching the same easy video. Comfort is, I'll just listen, not speak. Comfort feels safe, but it keeps you exactly where you are. Progress happens when you do small, uncomfortable things daily, saying one sentence out loud when you don't feel ready, asking someone to repeat when you're embarrassed, starting a conversation instead of waiting for one. These moments feel scary for about 5 seconds, then they're done, and each one makes the next easier. Now let's talk about using English in public, because this is where people love to hide. You think, I'll practice when I'm fluent. No, you become fluent by practicing in public. Order your coffee in English. Ask for directions. Make small talk. Yes, even if your voice shakes a little. That shake disappears with repetition, not with planning. And stop comparing yourself to native speakers. That comparison is unfair and useless. They've been using English since they were toddlers. You haven't. You don't compare your first gym day to a professional athlete, do you? So why do it with language? Now let's hit another uncomfortable truth. Many learners are addicted to learning, not using. They collect apps, save videos, buy courses, watch tips, feel productive, but they don't speak. That's not learning, that's avoidance dressed up as effort. English is not a theory subject, it's a physical skill. Your mouth, ears, and brain need repetition.
You say, I need to learn more first. Learn what, exactly? Another 1,000 words you won't use? Another rule you won't remember when someone talks fast? At some point, learning more becomes procrastination wearing a fancy outfit. Let's talk about real-world English, because that's what actually matters. Real English is messy. People cut sentences short. They mumble. They interrupt. They change topics mid-sentence. If you're waiting for textbook English, you'll wait forever. This is why watching and listening without speaking is not enough. Your brain understands far more than your mouth can produce. That gap doesn't close by listening harder. It closes by speaking badly, repeatedly, until bad becomes okay, and okay becomes natural. Now let's talk about daily life, because this is where you should be practicing, and most of you don't. You don't need a classroom. You don't need a partner. You don't need perfect conditions. You need to use what's already around you. You wake up in the morning, say out loud, I'm tired, I need coffee. That's English. You're driving 10 miles to work? Talk to yourself in English for 2 of those miles. Describe what you see, traffic, weather, your mood. That's practice. You're at a store and don't understand what the cashier said? Don't panic. Say, sorry, could you say that again? That sentence alone is worth more than 50 flashcards. It keeps the conversation alive instead of killing it with silence. And stop pretending native speakers are scary. Most of them are relieved you're trying. They don't expect perfection. They expect effort. And if someone is rude, that's not an English problem. That's a human problem. Don't let one bad experience shut you down for years. Now let's hit a painful one.
Consistency. Most learners are allergic to it. You go hard for 1 week, disappear for 3, then wonder why nothing changed. That's not how skills work. That's how disappointment works. Think of English like walking. You don't get strong legs from one 10-mile walk once a month. You get strong legs from walking a little every day. Same with language. 10 minutes daily beats 2 hours once a week, every time. And please, stop waiting to feel motivated. Motivation is unreliable. It shows up late and leaves early. Habits stay. If you only practice when you feel inspired, you'll practice about as often as people clean behind their fridge, almost never. Let's talk about mistakes, because you're obsessed with avoiding them. Mistakes are not a sign of failure. They're a sign you're actually using English. Every fluent speaker you admire made thousands of mistakes. The only difference is they didn't stop. You mispronounce a word? Congratulations, you just learned how not to say it next time. You use the wrong tense? So what? The message still landed. Communication first. Perfection later, maybe. Now here's something most people don't want to hear. Confidence comes after action, not before. You don't wake up confident one day. Confidence is built sentence by sentence, awkward moment by awkward moment. If you're waiting to feel confident before speaking, you'll be waiting forever. Let's talk about environment, because your environment is either helping you or sabotaging you. If everything you watch, read, and listen to is in your native language, English will always feel like a visitor. Invite it into your life. Change your phone to English. Follow English creators. Listen to podcasts while cooking or cleaning. Put English where your brain already goes. Don't force it. Blend it. Now imagine 2 versions of you. One keeps preparing and never speaking. The other speaks imperfectly every day. In 6 months, those 2 people are not even close. One is still frustrated. The other is calm, flexible, and understandable. Same brain, different choices. And let's be clear about what happens if you don't change. You'll keep understanding but freezing. You'll avoid meetings. You'll rehearse sentences in your head after conversations end. You'll tell yourself you're almost there for years. That's the real cost, not bad English, but wasted time. Now here's the simple plan. Not complicated, not fancy. Listen every day, speak every day, even 1 sentence, especially when you don't feel like it. That's it. No secret method, no magic app, just repetition and courage. Before we wrap this up, let me say this directly. You are not bad at English. You're just underusing it. And underused skills don't grow, they shrink. So finish this episode. Don't skip, don't multitask. Let it sink in. Then like the video, subscribe to Ear Candy English, and share it with someone who needs a push more than another excuse. And today, use English once in real life. 1 sentence, 1 moment, 1 choice. Because progress doesn't come from knowing what to do. It comes from doing it even when you don't feel ready. And if you've made it this far, you're more ready than you think. All right, welcome to part 10. And if you've made it this far, good. That already tells me something about you. You're not completely hopeless. You're stubborn enough to keep listening, which means there's still a chance you'll actually do something with your English instead of just learning about learning English forever. Welcome back to Ear Candy English. If you haven't liked this episode yet, do it now. Subscribe to Ear Candy English and share this with that one friend who keeps saying, "My English is okay, I just don't feel confident." Because this one is about that exact lie. Let's be honest for a second. You don't lack confidence. You lack practice under pressure, and those 2 things are not the same. Confidence doesn't magically appear one morning while you're drinking coffee. It shows up after you've embarrassed yourself enough times and realized, oh, that actually wasn't the end of the world. But instead of doing that, most of you choose the safest option every day: silence. You listen, you understand, you nod, you smile, and then you say nothing. And later you complain that you can't speak. That's like standing next to a swimming pool for 5 years, reading books about swimming, and wondering why you still can't swim. At some point, the problem isn't knowledge, it's avoidance. Here's something you might not like hearing. Every time you choose silence, you train your brain to stay silent. Your brain learns patterns. If the pattern is, I understand, but I don't respond, congratulations, you've gotten really good at that. Meanwhile, the muscle you actually need, your speaking muscle, is just sitting there, unused, like a gym membership you keep paying for but never use. Now let's talk about real conversations, not textbook fairy tales. Real conversations are messy. People interrupt. They change topics. They speak fast. They mumble. They use half sentences. Nobody waits for you to build the perfect sentence in your head. And you know what? That's okay, because communication isn't about perfection. It's about momentum. But you kill momentum. You pause too long. You overthink. You try to translate word by word like you're running Google Translate in your head on a 2005 laptop. By the time you're ready to speak, the moment is gone. And then you tell yourself, next time. Spoiler alert, next time doesn't feel easier if you do the same thing again. Let's talk about fear, because that's what's really running the show. Fear of sounding stupid, fear of making mistakes, fear of being judged. Here's the uncomfortable truth. People are already judging you less than you think. Most people are too busy worrying about themselves to analyze your grammar. And even if they notice a mistake, so what? You think they'll go home and replay it all night? No, they've forgotten it before you finish your sentence. And here's the part that really stings. The people who improve the fastest are not the smartest. They're the ones who are okay sounding bad out loud. They speak before they feel ready. They interrupt their own fear. And because of that, they improve while you're still preparing. Let's talk about everyday life, because that's where English actually lives. At work, when someone asks, "Can you handle this?" and you answer with silence instead of, "Yes, I'll take care of it," you're not protecting yourself, you're shrinking yourself. At a coffee shop, when the barista asks for here or to go, and you panic inside, that's not a language problem, that's lack of exposure. You don't need more vocabulary lists. You need more moments where your brain goes, "Oh, this again." Familiarity kills fear. Repetition builds calm. But repetition only happens if you actually open your mouth. Let's be practical, because motivation without action is just noise. Start answering even when you're not sure. Say short things. Yes, not yet. I think so. Can you repeat that? These sentences are boring, and boring is good. Boring sentences keep conversations alive. Fancy sentences kill them. And stop waiting for perfect pronunciation. Perfect pronunciation is not required to be understood. Clarity beats perfection, every time. If people understand you, you win. That's the goal. Not sounding like a movie actor, sounding human. Here's another habit you need to break: apologizing for your English before you even speak. "Sorry, my English is bad." No, stop. That sentence does nothing except lower expectations and confidence, yours and theirs. Just speak. Let your English exist. It doesn't need an apology. Now let's talk about consistency, because this is where most people fail quietly. You practice one day, then disappear for a week. Then you come back and wonder why everything feels hard again. English is not a talent, it's a habit. Miss the habit long enough and your brain forgets the rhythm. Keep the habit alive even 5 minutes a day and things start clicking without effort. 5 minutes while walking half a mile, 5 minutes while washing dishes, 5 minutes talking to yourself in the car. That's how real progress